And wham bam, thank you, ma'am. We're back in the stream. How we doing, baby? Little Sunday night groove. It's your boy AC, the Adam Caplan MMA Show. And crack one open, drink a little bit of water, do a little bit of stretching, get prepared for the week because it's going to be a bumpy ride in a good way. So this is interesting. We got a couple of things here. Ryan Garcia talking about on an Instagram story that he had a mole in his camp, which I think could be one of his issues. I'm not really entirely sure. And then another thing, too, we're going to be talking about is Nate Diaz choking out the Logan Paul lookalike, which is pretty jokes. But let's get into Ryan Garcia first, actually, because what's interesting is that after he got finished by Tank Davis and got interviewed, you could definitely see that he was eating his words by having to deal with the fact that he lost against Tank Davis by liver shot. But you could also see like he didn't really necessarily want to give his entire thoughts and truth on the opinion and the matter that happened in the ring. So that means that there could have been something leading up. There could have been an injury. Could be perhaps this mole, but I don't necessarily see how the mole could have helped Tank Davis in understanding that if he fights Ryan Garcia on the inside, Tank is going to be able to land a liver shot to put Ryan away. I really don't see how that would have done anything. And if Ryan is upset that somebody in his camp had told Tank that he's a little bit soft to the ribs right now and you should go to the body, I mean, look, like in the flurry that it actually had happened in, I don't really think that it was planned. In the midst of the chaos, that was the opening shot that was available. And big ups to my guy right here. What's Gucci, baby? I agree with you. I don't think it would have changed the outcome of the fight because I do believe that Tank Davis then still would have gotten the TKO or the knockout by hitting Ryan Garcia in the face. So I agree with you there, Jay Fish. And it's interesting because in boxing these days, and pretty much in every sport, it's a different time now where everybody is friends with everybody. And in some way, shape, or form, everybody's trying to get a little bit of clout by getting a little bit close with somebody. We saw it in George Kambosos Jr. when he had the fight against Teofimo Lopez, with Devin Haney. Teofimo Lopez was messaging, or the opposite. Either way, there was like a three-way going where Teofimo Lopez, I believe, was playing both sides with Devin Haney and George Kambosos trying to get some dirt on them, etc. And it's just interesting there what happens, like, in some way, shape, or form, someone's just trying to always get like a good looking pal, like, thanks for looking out for me. It gone are the days where, like, no new friends. It's kind of like now with social media and shit like that, everybody's just really trying to get a little bit of clout and support. Like, for example, no one's talking about the fact that Tank Davis is going to be eventually fighting undisputed champion Devin Haney. And we've seen the mentor and, coach or promoter of Floyd Mayweather with Gervonta Davis for years. He's also helping out Devin Haney. So what's up with that? Got my man Anthony San Juan TV. What's going on, baby? Nice to have you in here, man. Guy wrote me a nice message about a week ago or something like that. Very kind of him. I appreciate you. I still remember what you said. Like nobody's talking about the fact that Floyd is literally mentoring Haney and Gervonta Davis, and they're going to be, going toe-to-toe with each other eventually. What's going to happen with that too? So I don't know, the whole mole in the camp, would it have really made a difference or not? I mean, that's Ryan Garcia's fault. Why? Because he always thinks that it's okay to jump around from coach to coach and camp to camp, and he thinks that he's going to find, trust and truth and privacy. That's not going to happen, especially when you're outsourcing, sparring partners and stuff like that. And I don't really know to what degree these guys are signing NDAs, etc. But ultimately, what I think the biggest problem is, everybody in the spaces, due to the fact of social media and stuff like that, they have an easy way to connect with each other. And I just think it's another way now where, again, guys are trying to build a little bit of clout and notoriety off of each other. And maybe some of these boxers think, hey, you know what? If I give Gervonta a tip, maybe he's going to think about me in his next matchup so we could both get paid, even if I don't think that I'm man enough to actually beat Davis. So there's a little bit of weird stuff there. Gervonta and Haney bigger than the Garcia fight? Yeah, for sure, man. Absolutely. Why? Because it's the undisputed title, baby. And Haney has proven now that he is really the real deal Holyfield. Although people are really saying that Shakur Stevenson will soon be the number one, or at least Shakur Stevenson will be the harder matchup for Gervonta Davis as a more pure boxer. But I don't know, man, between the three of those guys, none of them are showing that they have one tool to win the fight. They're all showing absolutely that they're masters of the sweet science, and either one of them could be champion. And it's kind of crazy how, the top three right now, for probably the first time in a while in boxing, could all be the undisputed champions. So I don't know, like, would a mole in the camp really have made a difference? I don't really think so, but I blame Ryan Garcia for that, for jumping around from camp to camp and in thinking that maybe some of the people that have helped him get sparring partners, etc., are really doing their due diligence and, maybe signing NDAs or choosing the right guys that know they're going to keep their mouth shut. So that's kind of the problem there when you don't stay loyal and whatever the case may be. So I don't really know. We'll see. I mean, it was such a great fight, though. I love the fact that there weren't many punches thrown, because sometimes when there's so much action and there's so many jabs being thrown and none of them are really landing, and there's a lot of, a big ratio between punches thrown and punches landed, it's hard to sometimes keep up with the momentum and how the fight was going. But you could clearly see how much in control Tank Davis was. And you could see, though, also that the crowd was a little bit pro Ryan, because I think he landed like 7 punches overall. And those were some of the loudest pops of the night, minus the 2 knockdowns. I would say that most of them were in the pop of Ryan Garcia. How did you guys in the chat think how the fight went? I got 3 people in here. Maybe I still got Fish and Anthony and my guy T. What do you guys think? But one of those things too, like Ryan Garcia, though, really proved that he belongs in the ring with Gervonta Davis. Even though there were a lot of discrepancies with the height, with the range, and Gervonta Davis was more or less needing to drag it into deeper waters to be able to find those holes in range. But you kind of get to thinking, too, that Ryan Garcia kind of dug his own grave in the knockdowns and in the finish when he was closing the distance too hard. And he was making himself ready, available to get hit by the shorter and, probably craftier boxer in Gervonta Davis. That poses for a lot of difficulties. I think that Ryan has a hard time of moving his head after he punches. He doesn't level change. Gervonta Davis is already the shorter fighter, and he was level changing tremendously in the fight. All in all, I thought that it was a great performance. I think that Ryan Garcia showed that he does belong at the top of the pool, but I don't think it would be smart right now for him to necessarily do similar to like a Caleb Plant, where he went from Canelo to David Benavidez. I don't recommend that. I don't think that Gervonta Davis should go and turn around and fight the likes of like a Shakur Stevenson right now, or, Vasily Lomachenko if he loses. I think that Ryan Garcia should go down the pegging order a little bit, get a couple of more W's, maybe 1 or 2 of those, and then go right back to the higher caliber fighters, because he's got plenty of time right now. And like I said on the podcast, I felt that, yes, Ryan Garcia belonged there, but and yes, he might have lost and looked like there was a little bit of 6 inches of separation between the 2 fighters, but a loss on his record really won't change much. To me, Ryan looked like he knew the moment was too big for him. Listen, I don't know about that, if he felt like the moment was too big for him. I didn't get that sense. I got the sense of that, though, in the way that Ryan Garcia was landing his left hand against Gervonta Davis, because Gervonta was fighting the lead hand of Ryan Garcia's lead left hand so well, and Garcia was reluctant to land that jab or left hook. That's when I felt like things were starting to get a little bit too much for Ryan Garcia. But when he started landing the right hand, he showed us like, okay, he's willing to adjust. To add to what you're saying, though, Fish Money, Gervonta Davis had a look on his face the entire time while he was boxing with Garcia. He had this little smirk on his face, and he was just looking at Ryan like, I am going to finish you, boy. I am going to finish you. I don't know what you guys felt about that in the comments. I truly felt that Gervonta Davis was looking at Ryan Garcia like I don't know. I don't want to say it, but he was looking at him, so, and I felt that he knew that he had him on the scope, and he called his shot in the 7th round also, even though he admitted it to being a little bit of psychological warfare, he was absolutely unsuccessful for it. And, you got to think that Tank is absolutely one of the faces of boxing. I mean, two guys that are probably listening to this right now, Tyler and Jordan, these guys don't watch boxing. They don't watch a lot of boxing. They know Ryan Garcia because he's a mainstream guy and stuff like that. But ultimately, I bet the two of them have known the name Gervonta Davis for a very long time, and have known that he's been a force to be reckoned with in boxing for a while. So that, I don't really think the whole mole thing plans out. But what I'm wondering is going to be interesting is, as the Gervonta Davis and the Devin Haney fight does get closer, where does Floyd Mayweather lie between the two of these fighters? Because Gervonta Davis has had a little bit of controversy with Floyd Mayweather before. There's a pretty joke story where he put him up in a condo, one of Floyd's fully furnished condos in Vegas. And the next week or so, Gervonta Davis sold absolutely every single thing in the condo, and then he bounced back to Maryland and ran his boxing camp out of there. And he kind of told Floyd to F off, and there was a little bit of beef. And Adrian Broner had that same type of stint of beef with Floyd too. But the difference is that there was more money to be made and more skill left in Gervonta Tank Davis for Floyd to salvage of the relationship. And I know that there's plenty of Floyd to go around, but fighting is just one of those interesting things where that down the line, guys are going to be fighting each other eventually. And that's where it gets dicey in terms of, going from flower to flower as a bumblebee looking to get a little bit of sugar and sweet off of everybody in the fight game. Because eventually what happens is what goes around comes around. The same advice that you retained, from Floyd Mayweather in getting your tips are the same weaknesses that he could go and relate to the next man. So it's an interesting storyline in terms of that too, and where Floyd Mayweather will lie with the Gervonta Davis and Devin Haney matchup. But Devin Haney, the undisputed champion, he beat George Kambosos twice, is going to have to fight Vasily Lomachenko of the Ukraine, who, obviously could put on a very good performance. Because what's interesting there is Haney, yo, what up, baby? What's going on, Cade? Hope you had a good day with the family, my brother. What's interesting there with Haney is that he's a very patient and calm and calculated puncher who knows how to land at the perfect moments. Whereas you get a guy like Lomachenko that really uses his footwork and his head movement and his angles to force the action and confuse and freeze his opponents to be able to get off on the offensive. So it'll be interesting to see how much Devin Haney will be able to keep Lomachenko on the scope. Because let me tell you something, while he's going to be able to move and groove and hit those angles and footwork, if Devin Haney is still going to be able to pick him off with his patient footwork while sitting on the back foot, whoo-wee, it's going to be a masterclass of a performance. Not maybe the most exciting one, but it's definitely going to be there. So I'm looking forward to that. That shit's going to be lit right there. And, a little bit of boxing talk. It's all good. It's the Adam Caplan MMA Show, but we're getting into it. So I don't know. Do you guys think in the comments that a mole really would have made a difference in the Ryan Garcia camp? I mean, Fish seems to think otherwise. I don't think so either. If anybody here is familiar with boxing, what do you think is next for Ryan Garcia? Because right now I don't really know, because it's tough to know which route he's going to want to go. Is he going to want to fight another tough contender right away, or is he going to want to go down the pecking order a little bit, get paid a little bit, get a little bit more confidence, and get him more acquainted with his camp, and maybe fix up a little bit of those loose ends that could have caused him some difficulties against Gervonta Davis? So let's see what my guy Cade said. Haney will work Loma, in my opinion. I also think he works Tank as well. He fights long and smart, and he's calculated. Sounds familiar. I agree with that. I would love to see, though, Tank Davis beat Devin Haney, just due to the fact that Tank has been one of those guys that I've really enjoyed watching over the years, and he's one of the guys that I lean to. Tank is my guy. I would really love to see that fight against Devin Haney, but I do think that Haney is a very, very difficult matchup for Gervonta Davis. But, Devin Haney was successful in beating Ryan Garcia in the amateurs, actually. I believe he beat him 2-1. I think the first fight he might have lost him, but then the other two he won by maybe a bigger margin. Could be making that up. We'll see. But ultimately, I think that Devin Haney and Gervonta Davis is a very, very difficult matchup. And it'll be interesting to see if Gervonta Davis is going to want to risk it against Devin Haney first or Shakur Stevenson. I think that there's more. I think that there's I think you should go for the title right away. Realistically, it's crazy how much Davis has done. It's like, in a way, the guy could literally fight the Lomachenko. He could fight Shakur Stevenson. He's got one or two Hispanic fighters. And then he's also got the champion in Devin Haney, and he's more or less done at 30 years old. I don't see him going to 140. Listen, I think Ryan had a good fight. I'm listening. He fought a level up in competition. He had a clause with the rehydration with James. Okay, so hold on. There's one thing about the whole rehydration thing that we need to take into consideration, which I didn't. And maybe I'm being a little bit hypocritical, but I absolutely think that Ryan can hang with these guys. And I think he fought up a level in competition, which was a way too big of a leap, which I felt already that they didn't, they kind of went like from level 5 to level 10. When I think that they should have found better, 6s, 7, 8s, and 9s to be able to get to one of the big bosses in Gervonta Davis. But Cade, the rehydration clause, I mean, I don't know, it's like Garcia had to weigh 145 pounds or something like that before, somewhere in the late morning or afternoon. Ryan Garcia still does have enough time to kind of put on a little bit more weight, but not really that much. So, yeah, I agree with you, actually. I'm going back on what I said. I'm backtracking. I don't want to see it with the rehydration clause either. Quite frankly, I don't want to see any fight with the rehydration clause. And, Tank was able to exercise that by being the A side. He's not going to be able to do that when he fights the likes of Devin Haney, because he will indeed be the B side. And I do believe that Devin Haney rehydrates even heavier than Ryan Garcia does. He packs on more muscle, which means there's more water that could really sit in there. So that'll be difficult for Tank when he eventually gets to the undisputed champion, Devin Haney. But yeah, Kate, I agree with you. Rolly Romero and Ryan Garcia absolutely does make sense indeed. There's a great storyline there. They could sell the fight well. I guess what sucks about it is that it always sucks to see two guys have to fight each other with the same loss on their record against one of the stars of their division that they're gunning for. It just makes them look like a secondhand diaper. But ultimately, that's a great matchup with a really good storyline. So your boy AC is always there for that. Love a good storyline, love a good matchup. And this matchup could actually be a little bit of a career killer. Losing to Gervonta Davis is not a big deal. But if one of these guys lose to each other with everything that's been at stake in the past, etc., I think there actually could be a lot more on the line than we take into consideration. So do we still want to talk about some boxing? What do you think in the chat? Do we still want to talk about some boxing, or we want to move along with the topic now? Nope, there's not going to be a rematch because in the contract, Gervonta Davis only had the rematch clause if he would have lost. Ryan Garcia does not have the rematch clause, which again, A-side mind games. Initially going into it, you think Ryan Garcia is he thinks he doesn't want to do the rematch because he's going to lose or whatever the case. Or if he wins, he's not going to want to fight me again. I don't really think that's the case, but either way, there's no rematch for sure, and I don't think that there should be. No doubt about that. I don't think that there should be, but little Sunday Night Groove did a pod this morning. It was great. Broke down the fight with a more in-depth analysis of what happened about the Gervonta Davis and Ryan Garcia fight. I could absolutely get into that right now in terms of some play-by-play and what actually happened, of what happened in the fight. But I'll have to have the chat be a little bit active if they'd like me to kind of get into a little bit more of a breakdown round by round or a general synopsis of how I thought the fight went. But ultimately, I really thought that it was a great fight, a little 7-round banger. Somebody messaged me this morning a little short, no, and I'm just like, you can't please anybody these days. Fight goes 12 rounds, it's too long. Fight gets finished to the body by 7, it's too long. Yeah, they could go back to it. I mean, it's possible. We'll see. But we'll see. I just really loved the some of the adjustments actually that Ryan Garcia made. The jab wasn't landing, the lead the left hook wasn't landing, the left hook wasn't landing due to the fact that because Gervonta Davis is a southpaw, he fights with his left hand backwards, and Garcia fights with his right hand backwards. They could really paw at each other with the lead hand. And that's what Gervonta Davis was doing. And because what Garcia wants to do is he wants to pop the jab, and then he wants to whip that hook, and then he wants to jab, hook, or sometimes he just wants to hook the whip, whip the hook, and then pop the jab. He wants to do a little bit of that. And because Tank was just constantly pawing, he wasn't able to get that left off. But what I really liked is that in about the fourth round or so, Ryan Garcia was starting to find his right hand. And I thought that was a big deal. That was a big deal because, like, Ryan Garcia is one of those fighters that really heavily relies on his left hand. And as somebody that knows and is comfortable at landing with their lead hand, it comes with a range at that as well. And when you're not landing at that range with that favorite punch, then you got to go into deeper waters and start landing that right hand, which could make things more vulnerable for yourself because you have to go across the axis a little bit more, really put your head and your nose into it off that line more while releasing that right hand. And but what I liked is that Ryan was landing it. He took a little bit of time to find the right hand, but ultimately he did find a home for it off of some angles, which I thought was really impressive. Let's see. AC, that's the sad thing. Ryan made huge adjustments in the sixth, and the body shot ended it. Yeah, I mean, look, he made huge adjustments with the right hand, but you have to think also that as soon as the fight got in within a close in range scenario, he had nothing for Tank Davis. In the second round, Tank Davis lowered his center of gravity even lower. He kind of shifted over to the side. Garcia kept dropping his right hand while throwing that left hook. So as Gervonta Davis got out of the way of that left hook and took an angle, boom, that left hook was readily available. He drops Ryan Garcia. And yeah, some of those adjustments in the sixth round were making a big deal with the right hand. But you got to think also, Tank was on the back foot for the majority of the fight, circling the outside, hugging the ropes, just kind of really downloading the data of Ryan Garcia. And once again, guys, was having that look and that smirk on his face like, I got you. I got something for you now, and it's coming. Don't you worry. Don't worry. That little chili pepper that I hid inside of your sandwich is going to hit you at the pit of your belly eventually, and you're going to be blowing fire like a dragon. And that's kind of what happened, man. So I don't know. The adjustments were interesting, but what I really thought would have been readily available was the right uppercut of Ryan Garcia, especially at the fact that Gervonta is a southpaw. He's going to dip his head down to that left hip of his. Ryan Garcia could drop that right uppercut, but at the same time, that leaves you vulnerable. And when Ryan is the type of fighter who doesn't level change, he doesn't bend his knees much when he's throwing to the body. You know, he's standing straight up, his chin's in the air, but he releases the hand really, really well and is able to hit you with a crippling body shot or a head shot, but he doesn't really necessarily move his body off of the axis that much. And because of that, with his uppercuts, he'd be leaving himself way too much in the air for him to get tagged by a left hand by Tank. So thought the uppercut could have been there, but I understand why he didn't throw it. But he found a home for the right hand, which I thought was uber impressive. But at the end of the day, once they got into that in close range, you could really see that Tank Davis was levels above Ryan Garcia. There was only one range and only one particular set of skills that Ryan Garcia was there was only, you little soft ass motherfucker. There was only one range or one stance or one form of punches that Ryan Garcia would have wanted to get off in order to beat Tank Davis, and Tank Davis nullified it with his footwork, with his hand fighting, and being the more capable fighter in the inside. So Tank is a master of baiting guys into the KO. He's very good at it. Love Tank Davis. Hope next title fight is big. Yeah, I agree with you there. What's going on, you soft-ass bumbleclat? But, yeah, that's kind of one of the things there is the right uppercut could have been there with some of the adjustments that he was making with the right hand. But you got to think also that dropping your hand to your hip and then leaving your chin up and not being very mobile with your torso on that axis like a Ryan Garcia would have posed for some big difficulties there. So yeah, maybe some adjustments could have made some differences, but I got to be real. I have been saying for about two years now, since about the pandemic or whenever the jibber jabber started with Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia, I was in a bunch of Twitter spaces and known as the MMA guy and whatever the case may be. And when I got on these Twitter spaces and was talking to some real boxing heads, about how Tank Davis is more than capable against Ryan Garcia, they were pretty impressed by that. But I got to be honest with you, I just got the feeling that, you see my guy here says that Ryan landed some nasty shots. Tank has a granite chin. I mean, yeah, Tank does have a granite chin, but let's be real here. Nasty shots. I mean, Tank Davis was the one who dropped Ryan Garcia twice. And, basically every time Ryan Garcia got on the inside of Gervonta Davis, he was able to take an angle and tag Ryan Garcia. Garcia was able to find that right hand in the about the 5th or 6th round or whatever the case may be. And yeah, Tank Davis did take some shots, but I don't know, the whole rehydration clause. I honestly think that the rehydration clause actually gave Ryan Garcia a bit of that big dick energy. I didn't really think that the rehydration clause actually made it look like it was going to affect Ryan Garcia. I thought if anything, it made him come off as I thought it made it at first come off as him actually being the bigger, stronger guy who could actually put away Gervonta Davis with a one punch, which is why he needs to take off the weight. That liver shot was so fast the first time that I missed it. Insane pocket shot. Absolutely. An insane pocket shot. Absolutely. I didn't even know where the punch came from originally too, my guy. I had to rewatch the replay. It was a crazy and stealth body shot, but you have to understand that this thing absolutely landed on the money. And the feeling that Ryan Garcia was going through is a crippling and paralyzing feeling. The fact that he was even able to keep a straight face and stay down on one knee and not roll around and, keep his eye closed, squinting in pain is absolutely impressive. I've been dropped with a liver shot, and that is not fun. I've dropped someone to the liver. That is fun. But, big ups to him, man. But it is an insane pocket shot. But you best believe that Ryan Garcia is just as good at landing that liver shot in the pocket with such a fast demeanor. And what was funny is that a lot of the things listen, bro, my initials are AEC and the E is for elite, baby. So the Ryan Garcia's boxing, he is able to land in the pocket as well and really get his punches off and really get things going as well too, which is impressive. And another thing too is everything that Ryan Garcia was more or less popular for worked completely against him. And this is something that should actually be clipped. So if you're in the comments, pay attention to this. Ryan Garcia was known for the body shot challenge, got dropped to the body. Ryan Garcia was known for his left hook. Tank Davis completely nullified that. Ryan Garcia was known for his ghost punch. Gervonta Davis performed that even better. God damn it, man. Tank Davis, baby. You got to love it. Gotta love it. I'm really looking forward to where he's going to be at next, And again, I'm really not happy about this TMM. You got here actually a little bit later, so I want your take on this. I don't know if you're familiar with too much boxing, my guy, but, you look at the top of the division now with Devin Haney as the undisputed champion. And what's kind of funny is that who has a great relationship with Tank Davis and Devin Haney? Floyd Mayweather. So, where is Floyd going to stand at the top of this kerfuffle? Is Floyd going to kind of get in the way to try to keep these guys as separate as possible for his own best interest? I'm not really sure. Not that he makes a dime off of Devin Haney. I think he only makes money off of Tank. But still, what do you think about that? And if there's anybody new in the comments, what do you think about that? And, if you've been here a long time and you've been here the whole time, Fish, if you're still here, T, if you're still here, drop a thumbs up, whatever the case may be. Mayweather first Tank. Wow, I would love that. TM, did you ever hear the story about how Floyd Mayweather puts Tank Davis up in one of his condos in Vegas, and Tank Davis apparently sold all the furniture and dipped out? It's pretty jokes. I got a stain here. That's salty. Anyways, but yeah, it's elbow cough. Okay, buddy, elbow. But yeah, it's one of those things. So, I think ultimately, you know what? Let's get into some MMA talk. How about that whole Nate Diaz choking out that Logan Paul lookalike? I mean, it's such a funny thing. You got to think this is such a pre-planned thing. I mean, this guy probably went to Nate and was like, "Hey, dude, I don't understand elbow cough. Did I say elbow cough?" What's going on here? I'm confused. Felt bad for the dude getting choked out, to be honest, but never get a raise of MMA guy. Yeah, you see, but like, it was in the crazy streets of New Orleans. So you have to think like, okay, there's no way that was pre-planned. Like, who's going to kind of pre-plan like an all-out brawl or an all-out street fight? That I understand. But on the flip side, it's like, is it really that far-fetched that this fake Logan Paul lookalike was maybe able to get in touch with Nate and was like, yo, you're just going to choke me out in the street and it'll kind of feed into your matchup? Like, probably not, because I don't think this guy is nearly big enough. Like, he's basically, like, if your claim to fame is a lookalike, like, you might as well be working in the street in New York City. But it is what it is. What a great guillotine, though. Holy smokes. Nate Diaz, he completely submits this guy. I just love the way I just love the way that Nate Diaz is always able to get himself into trouble. Like, it's like, dude, can you just chill out? Yo, blind squirrel, what's going on, man? Yo, shout out to my guy. This guy stood up to somebody at his job at work and basically told him, like, dude, you're going to start disrespecting me and some of my staff. I'm going to come back to you, and not only will I serve you what I need to serve you, but I'm going to serve you an ass kicking as well. So that was pretty jokes. Yeah, it's not funny, how he hits his head on the ground and he gets hurt and stuff like that. But he had no business being in an altercation with Nate Diaz. And Tom DeBlas, who is a staple in New Jersey Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, who was the mentor to the great Gary Tonin, was like, dude, you do not get in range and start going into hand fighting combat with a professional MMA fighter and expect yourself not to get hit with some change, because he has no reason to think that you're not going to sucker punch him. I absolutely believe that. Seems like Nate's beating up people everywhere he goes. Nate is beating up people everywhere he goes, which it's like kind of annoying already. But this seems to actually be the worst one, because he hit his head and bled out on the street and whatever. Whereas, like, the best one by far is when he makes the guy flinch and the beer goes everywhere. But usually it's like him and his boys, yo, what's going on, guys? Like, don't be letting me slap you and stuff, like, fuck these guys, you're all on steroids and shit. Like, usually it's like that, which is fine. But I don't know, the whole hitting his head thing, that was kind of crazy. That knee to the body hurt way more than I think a lot of people expected to. Yeah, for sure. And the thing is with the knee in the body is that when you're getting the guillotine in a street fight, you don't really know what's about to happen. And sometimes the strikes that you don't anticipate, especially a knee to the body, could really get you there. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. I mean, holler at your boy. That makes absolutely no sense why you would step up to Nate Diaz in the street. I agree with you there. So, all right, my guy doesn't want to get into the doesn't want to get into the jibba jabba of the gossip. He wants to talk about this. How do we feel on it? I mean, look, this is exactly what I spoke about on the podcast today. That'll be out about Monday or Tuesday. Pavlich versus Jones is the next fight to make. I'm sick and tired of the whole Stipe Miocic thing. It's like, first of all, you haven't been in the game in a while, and at this point, with the way that you're so reluctant to get back into the octagon and fight, it's kind of hurting his greatest of all time legacy in the heavyweight division, because it's kind of like shit or get off the pot already. That's kind of how I feel about things. So I'm actually not interested in seeing Jones versus Miocic. I think that Miocic is older now. I think that he's aged. I think that he's probably going to get finished by whoever he fights next, or is not going to put on a very interesting performance. I don't know. Call me crazy, but I just think right now Stipe Miocic is kind of dragging things along a little bit too much, which is sad because to an extent, like Stipe Miocic could have easily fought out of his UFC contract if he wasn't happy, and kind of went the Frank Mir route and just fought a bunch of guys on the circuit in boxing and MMA and whatever the case may be, and more so in the boxing side. But Gane versus Stipe, yeah, I like the matchup also. I mean, yeah, it's a good matchup. It is for sure. Who else? Yeah, Tom Aspinall versus Stipe or Gane would be a good one too, but I think Aspinall is going to look for a warm-up in Marcin Tybura, or what I would really like to see in Tai Tuivasa. That's what I would really like to see. McGregor versus Diaz 3 is one of the most touted fights that absolutely need to happen before we die. The problem is that we are probably going to get it at a time where it is much too late and a lot less interesting. I think that the fight could have been better if it would have happened 3-4 years ago, but looks like we might only get it in about 2 years. We'll see, or maybe 10. Knowing Pavlich stuff, Blades is in. Yeah, it's interesting, man. I mean, look, you got a soft spot for the Russian fighters and stuff like that. So I do understand a little bit of your sentiments and where you're coming from. I don't think that Curtis Blades is as capable of a fighter and carries enough of an aura and a demeanor to be able to intimidate the likes of a Sergey Pavlich, where yeah, sure, buddy. Yeah, sure, buddy. I don't think that I just don't think that Blades is anywhere near as calculated or as skilled as John Jones. So I think that Pavlich is going to have his wits about him if he fights John Jones. But I got to tell you something, man. Exactly. John Jones is much higher than Blades, higher IQ. I completely agree. But let me tell you the difference here. John's boxing in the matchup against Ciryl Gane was pretty lackluster. I was not impressed with John's boxing at all against Ciryl Gane, which is why he was using the leg kicks and the front kicks to measure his distance and measure his range and use his teeps as his jab. His boxing is not very polished and hasn't been very polished for quite a long time in the octagon. Sergey Pavlich's boxing, on the other hand, is very interesting and very fun to watch. And I was actually saying that it would be jokes to see, or interesting to see, Sergey Pavlich and Alexander Povetkin do a little Russian-style sparring session with each other. But I got to say, man, Pavlich's boxing is something that John Jones definitely needs to worry about and think about in the octagon, because if he tries to get into a boxing match with Pavlich, I don't know if Jones can hang with him. I really don't. So that's my opinion on that. Yes, they absolutely could. Jorge Masvidal did get released as well. Yo, that would be lit. I like that. Blind squirrel, baby. That's my guy right here. Hey, yo. Will break both his legs against Chandler and retire. No third fight. I don't think you're afraid of that. I think that you, quite frankly, don't like Conor McGregor. And I think that that's too damn bad, baby, because Conor McGregor is going to KO Michael Chandler. Then he's going to beat Leon Edwards for the welterweight title. Then he's going to call out Brock Lesnar for UFC 300. And then they're going to fight for the all-time HGH heavyweight championship of the world. So you have no idea what you're talking about. You're a casual. And we're just having fun now. A. Jones, skill level is much higher than Blades. Yep, I completely agree with you there. Jones versus Tuivasa. Winner pays for the loser's bender. So I'm looking forward to that. We'll see what the deal is. You're dreaming. Yeah, baby. I don't know. Jones versus Tuivasa. I don't think that happens. I'd like to see Tom Aspinall versus Tai Tuivasa. I think that fight makes the most sense to me, because the thing is with Tai Tuivasa is he knows how to sell out a crowd. He's a fan favorite. And he's a very simple fighter to prepare for in the sense that he's pretty one-dimensional. There's only one thing you have to prepare for, but what you have to prepare for, could be very dangerous. And I do believe that Tom Aspinall has the fundamentals and the star power to not only sell out the arena, but also to be able to put on a pretty technical and interesting performance. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We're hitting the 40-minute mark in the stream. I'm loving it, man. It's good fun. Quality's looking good. And we're doing our thing. See what we got here. Rosas Jr. versus AC Radio. No, that's okay. You can call me AC Radio. I mean, listen, man, if Rosas Jr. wants that smoke, we can get it popping. So I like Rosas Jr. I just felt that he didn't necessarily have to take that matchup against Rodriguez. I think that they could have given him an opponent that wasn't even in the UFC, given the guy a one-off and kind of call it a day. I mean, if you look at some of the likes of the guys that they've had fight in the UFC right now, there should have been no problem why they couldn't have just brought somebody in. Gatekeepers of every weight class. Holy smokes. Kind of a depressing topic, though, if you think about it. It's like, let's talk about the people that will never actually accomplish their dreams and at the same time will block people from being able to accomplish their dreams. What a depressing topic, but I like it. Blind Squirrel, let me ask you, who do you think is the gatekeeper in the welterweight division? Yeah, I definitely think that when I definitely think that Jamal Hill is packing new sets of boxers, new sets of socks, probably 2 pairs of tracksuits and a sauna suit when he goes to the UFC Performance Institute. I completely agree. Sam Alvey is actually fighting at heavyweight in a regional circuit right now. He's not even in the UFC, which is jokes, and he's fighting at heavyweight. Dustin versus Justin is a great fight. It's got to be a 5-round main eventer. I don't think that it's going to be a co-main event. I'm looking forward to it, but it's a depressing matchup because the loser is essentially almost going to have to retire in the sense that like their dreams and their chances of getting to the title, I feel like are more or less donezo after this. So this is to me like almost like not only a title eliminator, but almost a legacy eliminator, which is why I'm not absolutely looking forward to it. But I could be wrong in reading a little bit too deep into that. Dude, did anybody see Charles Oliveira do the horse racing? It was friggin' crazy. Go on YouTube and check out Charles Oliveira horse racing. Dude, this shit is crazier than fighting, I got to tell you. Wonder Boy is the gatekeeper at welterweight, in my opinion. I mean, it's possible. It's possible. It's tough to say right now. He's a bozo. T, not a big fan of Smiling Sam. Yeah, Alvey beats Pereira. Definitely flying knee. Sad. I thought it was new. Well, I don't know. Wonder Boy to me just doesn't seem like he fights that actively. I just feel like I haven't seen him that long fighting. I haven't seen him fighting as often in the octagon as I once did. Jokes. Maybe he'll stick to horse racing now. No, I definitely don't think so because Charles Oliveira is still one of the biggest names and one of the biggest draws in the UFC. But like I've said before on some of these streams, you got to think that some of these UFC lightweights are only a few losses away from their careers not being necessarily as well received as they once were. You know, they're just a couple of losses away from maybe getting to that irrelevancy, which is tough. I mean, gatekeepers of the lightweight division, I guess, like maybe the likes of like a Michael Chandler, Justin Gaethje. Then in the welterweight division, I mean, Gilbert Burns. That would probably be a pretty big gatekeeper to me right now. Maybe Wonderboy Thompson. Then in like the middleweight division, I'd say like Marvin Vettori. Marvin Vettori would probably be a pretty big one. Yeah, it's very possible, man, especially if Leon wants to stand with him. How do we think about Marvin Vettori as the middleweight gatekeeper? I actually think that that's a pretty good shout. Light heavyweight gatekeeper, probably Anthony Smith, Nikita Krylov. Yeah, your boy's hitting this on the money, bro. I'm on fire right now. I don't know, maybe Curtis Blades for heavyweight. Tai Tuivasa type thing. Brandon Moreno. And then for the flyweight division, Kai Kara France, he'll probably become a gatekeeper. Middleweight division, bantamweight division. I mean, shit, man. This is a tough one. It might be someone soon. Peter Yan, Vera, Cheeto, Corey Sandhagen. Like, who the hell knows? So that's already a bit there. Costa in the middleweight division. I don't know, man. When you're making, I don't know, Costa could go to light heavyweight and have some fun. And then in the featherweight division, I mean, crap, we'll see. We'll see who's going to be a gatekeeper. We haven't really necessarily found that yet. Maybe a guy like Calvin Kattar. We'll see. And then the girls, Caitlin Chikagan stands out. Jessica Andrade stands out. It's kind of tough to say for how the pound for pound rankings will hold out. Yeah, Andrade is kind of a major gatekeeper in both divisions. Anyways, that one got me distracted. What else do we want to talk about here? We got two peeps in the stream. We're about 47 minutes in deep. I'd like to go for about 13 minutes more. If we can get some rapid fire questions in here, that would be fire. I've just been really having a lot of fun with the live streams, like I gotta say. It's just more natural in general. You can obviously see just like my overall vibe and demeanor is a lot more relaxed. I get to show more sides of myself, which I think is cool as well. And I think what's interesting too about all of it is like it's a lot more raw. It's a lot more just like not editing, putting it up. This is what you see. This is what you get. Tonight is a very active night in the chat, which to me always warms my heart. It's so fun to have it active in the chat and whatever. And it's just a lot more raw and a lot more live and off the cuff, which I really like about it. And like already, this is probably my third time doing it alone because my last few times, I think my last 3 times I've had guests on, I'm going 48 minutes here solo dolo. And I just have the help of you guys in here, which is always really great and fun. So the live streams are always a really good time. And what's cool about the live streams is all you got to do is set up, plug in and play and go and get your shit going. And people get fazed by that little number with the eye there that has how many faces in there. Dude, I got 2 people in right now. And to be honest with you, when you want to go out to a restaurant, when you want to go out to a bar, when you want to go on the phone or go out with a walk or with somebody, all you really need is 1 or 2 people. And one of the ways that I help cope, or I even help rationalize, my viewership and in my live streams or in my post, if I had 98 people in front of me listening to me talking about MMA, I'd be really happy about it. But once you start getting into the other metrics for how long they're going to stand in front of you, then things get a little bit complicated. But really do love doing the live streams. I mean, maybe eventually what I'm thinking about doing is maybe I have a scheduled show 2 times a week and I actually get my act together and schedule people in for, 30 to 45 minute slots. And let's just say I was able to get let's just say on Tuesday night, I was able to get 3 people. And then on Thursday night, I was able to get another 3. And I'm able to do 30 to 60 minutes with each of these people. Dude, I might be on a live stream here for 3 hours at a time, which to me would be an absolute dream and fun. And that would be a really good time because, people are chiming in and out and stuff like that. You can have me in your ear while you're at work, similar to how Helwani has his show. And then, depending on who you have, it's more of an interview or it's more of a conversation or it's more of a debate or all of these different things on the matter, which I think could be really, really fun. So that's cool. And it just opens a lot more possibilities. And I already have good equipment and a good setup where like I could just get up here and plug and play. And because I've been doing these live streams, obviously my watch time viewership has gone up. I've gotten a few more subs. And more importantly, it's like, if my last few podcasts don't necessarily do that great from a viewership standpoint, now I have extra views coming in, and also I'm building that exposure and that comfortability in the camera. You could see also on this live stream I've been looking a lot more at this camera instead of the laptop, which I have a bad habit of doing when I have a guest on. But like I said, I just like to do things a lot more casually when I'm on the live stream. And this reminds me of the days of when I first started in the podcasting game, because originally what happened is it was the pandemic and I realized that I had a microphone in my closet. So I took the Bluetooth microphone, I plugged it into my laptop, and it was the Sugar Sean versus Eddie Wineland fight. And I just got on there and I predicted the Eddie Wineland fight against Sugar Sean, and a couple of the matchups were on that card. And I found this app, Anchor. I recorded the episode one take, and I'll be real with you, all of my episodes and everything I do is one take. And I'm like Lil Weezy F baby. And basically what I did is I recorded the episode. It was like, 20 minutes long or whatever it was. I recorded it in my kitchen. And after that, I posted the episode on Anchor, and like exactly what I said Sugar Sean was going to do was what happened. And people were like, yo, I definitely mess with what you're doing. Like, keep it up. I recorded a few more episodes. And that was the unanimous decision. Exactly. Shout out my boy, Jay Fish, because he was on the show. He came on as a basketball analyst. We spoke about basketball. And what I loved about it is because it was just radio, I'd be sitting in this garage before it was even renovated like this. This was before I started my personal training business in here and started the podcast in here. It was just a dingy old garage. And I'd come in here with a couple of brewskis, maybe a couple of recreational sticks and the mic. And like, I would just sit in here and I would either talk solo, or I'd have a guy like Fish on, or I'd have a couple of other guys in rotation that we would go on. And we would record like 45-minute to an hour and a half episodes. And believe you me, when I had a guest on, I always had a very cheeky and savvy way of making those episodes last as long as possible. I had one guy basically have to tell his girlfriend a week in advance that he was going to have to come on my show, because I would keep him there for hours and hours and us talking. And we didn't care how many views we got or what the retention was. We just had fun doing it. And the live streams bring me back to this. Just sitting back, relaxing, maxing, spitting game, in front of the camera, doing my thing. It's a lot easier when you're on radio, and you're posting it just to Spotify and Apple Podcasts, because you could kind of, be in your underwear for all people know, and you can have more of a face for radio, but this is a more upgraded and cool version of doing it, which I have no problem with doing with absolutely at all. And it's been a lot of fun joining in on these live streams and stuff like that. I actually, in some ways, have a lot more fun doing this than any of the episodes that I have doing my podcast, because for some reason, this just feels a lot more vulnerable. It feels, because there's no post, there's no edit. It's a lot more raw. All this, I have stumblings, I have crutch words, I have this and that, and these things don't get edited out. And what I love about it is the people that actually stay here are the people that actually, mess with me and, like my jargon, like my flow, like the sound of my voice for what I am and not just like the spliced version of me. So I really appreciate that, and I really screw with it for sure. I've been trying to swear a little bit less, for some big things on a rise, man. But anybody who knows me in real life, also, I kind of break out in like accents and shit like that. So like, I'm not really, I'm not fucking around or anything. Should Valentina rematch Alexa, Chase Nunez, or retire? She got to rematch Alexa, no doubt. Rematch Alexa in Mexico City. That's the rematch for sure. There's no sense in chasing Nunez. I mean, Nunez has Pena right now. Then she just announced that Amanda Nunez's wife is going to have a baby, their second daughter. So, she'll be a little bit busy somewhere in between that. So I think that Valentina should fight Alexa Grasso for the title. And then she should, depending on whether she wins or loses, if she loses again, then I think she should go up a weight class and look for a more exciting matchup. But it would just really suck, man, to see Valentina Shevchenko perhaps go out in her career on a 2 to 3 fight losing streak. That would be crazy. You putz. Do the math, bozo. She got they have a sperm donor injecting in the eggs. Come on, guy. Maybe she should go on Dancing with the Stars. Dude, I'll be real with you. She'd actually make a friggin' killing doing that. It's actually the best shout I've ever seen. Very good shout. Valentina Shevchenko is going to be the next Dancing with the Stars. If Floyd Mayweather did it, I believe Valentina could. What's in everybody's cup tonight? Anybody got anything in their cup? Makes sense. Very talented fighter, easy on the eyes, and has a good squeeze to her, man. Turned Valentina Shevchenko's face into a Polish flag, literally. But yeah, if I'm Alexa Grasso, I'm looking for that fight in Mexico City against Valentina Shevchenko, absolutely. And the altitude will pose for a difficulty also, which is why I'm hesitant in actually Mexico City, and maybe they choose somewhere else in Mexico, though. Mexico is a crazy market. What'd you have for dinner with the fam tonight, bro? You got those chicken tendies? You got a little Dagwoods? What'd you get? Yes, sir. SYR up. Yes, sir. Shout out to Jay Fish putting Inferno sauce on his poutine. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. But yeah, listen, Nate Diaz, he's choking out people in the streets. Sad, but part of the game. He's going to fight Jake Paul next. It's interesting to see how much the MMA community is. Well, it's not interesting to see. It's a no-brainer to see how much the MMA community is going behind Nate Diaz, obviously. And a lot of them believe that he's going to be able to get the job done. And is that because they want to see Jake Paul lose, or is it because Nate Diaz has that cloud of notoriety in the space? I think it's absolutely both. But what are your predictions in the comments? You guys think Nate gets it done, or do you think that Jake wins? Do you think the fight is staged? Does this fight turn into a WWE match? What happens? Chicken all day, every day. That's what I like to hear, baby. Keep the proteins lean and the money green. That's what I like. We're at 59 minutes right now. We got 2 viewers in here. I think I'm left with fish and tea. What do you guys say? Should I wrap it up, baby? Like a little gift wrap? What do you think? It doesn't matter what you think. I'm the boss. Thanks for tuning into the stream. I appreciate you guys. I love you. Good night, baby.